Imagine this. A teenager in a Kansas high school bathroom, hiding behind a stall door, takes a puff of bubblegum-scented vapor, and for a moment, it feels like everything gets easier. Sharper focus. Less anxiety. A little dopamine hit in a stressful world. But here's the twist. What if this magical little escape is quietly rewriting the chemistry of their brain? Could something that smells like strawberries and feels like calm actually be a trap? Over the past decade, vaping has exploded across the US, especially among young adults. In 2023 alone, over 8% of American students vaped regularly, 1 in 4 of them, every single day. From downtown LA to suburban Georgia, vape pens have replaced cigarettes as the less bad vice. But less bad doesn't mean safe. And safe doesn't mean we understand what it's really doing to our bodies. So what exactly is in a vape? What happens when that warm mist touches your lungs and, more importantly, your brain? This video was made for Americans aged 18 to 45, especially those who've tried vaping, are thinking about quitting, or just want the truth beyond the buzz. Whether you're a college student in Chicago or a working parent in Florida, you deserve clarity. Because what comes next is deeper than a headline. It's part chemistry, part marketing, part cultural shift, and it affects all of us. Stick around. What we're about to uncover may change the way you think about every puff. Let's break it down. A vape isn't just some fancy water mist machine. It's a chemical delivery device, sleek, flavored, and deceptively simple. Inside every vape pen is a tiny tank filled with liquid, a mix of propylene glycol, glycerol, nicotine salts, and dozens of flavoring agents, many of which sound harmless. Candy flavor, mint, mango. But when you take a hit, the metal coil inside heats this liquid to high temperatures, turning it not into vapor, but into aerosol. And here's the crucial difference. Aerosol is not steam. It's a cloud of fine particles, chemicals, and microscopic metals suspended in the air, sticky and invasive. Once inhaled, billions of these particles rush into your lungs, coating the soft, delicate tissue like warm fog. They don't stop there. They pass through tiny air sacs, your alveoli, into your bloodstream. Within seconds, nicotine hits your brain. That's when the magic or the trap begins. Your brain lights up with dopamine. You feel more focused, less anxious, maybe even energized. It feels like control, like relief, like something you want again. But what else slipped into your system along the way? Traces of nickel, chromium, aluminum, chemicals never meant to be breathed. Molecules altered by heat into compounds science doesn't fully understand yet. And this isn't just happening in a lab, it's happening in your bedroom, your car, your school hallway. Americans love innovation. But what happens when innovation skips the safety checks? You're not just inhaling flavor, you're absorbing a mystery mixture into the most vulnerable part of your body. And if you're wondering how something that feels so clean could carry so much unknown, keep watching. So, what exactly are you breathing in? That fruity mist that tastes like cherry or cotton candy? It's far more complicated than it seems. Vape liquids are chemical cocktails, often made up of dozens of compounds, many of which aren't even listed on the label. That's not an exaggeration. Independent lab tests have found thousands of vape juice variations, and most of them contain ingredients not disclosed to the consumer. No warnings, no breakdowns. Just slick packaging and sweet names like Iceberry Rush. Some of these substances, technically safe, when eaten or applied to your skin. Propylene glycol and glycerol, for example, are common in foods and cosmetics. But lungs? Lungs are not built for that. Inhaling these compounds is a different game entirely, one we barely understand. And then comes heat. See, the coil in your vape pen can get hot, sometimes way too hot. When that happens, those harmless ingredients start to break down. They recombine, they mutate. And what you end up inhaling can include toxic byproducts like formaldehyde, a chemical also used to embalm corpses. Other flavor additives like cinnamaldehyde, cinnamon, or benzaldehyde, cherry, might taste great, but when vaporized, they've been shown to damage lung cells and cause inflammation. You'll never see that in a flavor description. Worse still, the hotter the vape burns, or the more you puff, the more intense and unstable the chemical reactions become. It's not just what's in the juice, it's what happens to it once it's inside your device and your body. And the real kicker, we still don't know what many of these heated compounds actually do. You're not just choosing a flavor, you're inhaling uncertainty. Your lungs are built for one thing: clean air, not cinnamon-scented chemicals, not vaporized oils, and certainly not microscopic metals. So what happens when you fill them with vape aerosol day after day? In the short term, many vapers, especially new users, report persistent coughing, tightness in the chest, shortness of breath, and extra mucus buildup. It may start subtle, but your lungs notice, they react, they fight back. That fight creates inflammation, a red alert in your respiratory system. Immune cells rush in to clean up the intruders, more mucus is produced to trap particles. Some cells die in the process. Others swell or scar. And it doesn't stop there. Over time, these constant micro-injuries may pave the way for chronic bronchitis, reduced lung capacity, or worse, lung disease. And when harmful metals like nickel and lead get involved, they don't just irritate, they accumulate. Your cardiovascular system feels the pressure too. Vaping can raise heart rate, blood pressure, and may even cause your blood vessels to stiffen or clog. Add in oxidative stress, and suddenly, you've got a recipe for long-term problems: heart disease, stroke, organ damage, and potentially cancer. And let's not forget your brain. Nicotine isn't just a stimulant, it's a rewiring agent. Especially in younger users, it can affect mood, attention, memory, and emotional regulation. Your brain adapts to the flood of nicotine, then struggles without it. Vaping might feel harmless because it's sleek, quiet, and doesn't smell like smoke. But make no mistake, every puff leaves a trace. You might not feel it today, but your body keeps the score. Ready to explore how addictive this gets and what happens to your mind when you try to quit? Here's the twist that makes this all so complicated. If you're a smoker, someone already inhaling burning tobacco daily, switching to vaping could save your life. That's not an exaggeration. Cigarettes deliver tar, carbon monoxide, and a cocktail of cancer-causing toxins straight into your lungs. Compared to that, vaping is miles less harmful. No fire, no ash, fewer known killers. But here's where the praise ends. Because if you never smoked a day in your life, and you picked up a vape just to relax, fit in, or try that watermelon flavor, your friend recommended you're not reducing harm. You're creating a new risk. Vaping may not have the same death toll as cigarettes yet, but it introduces foreign substances into your body that your lungs were never meant to handle. We've seen the damage smoking causes after decades, but vaping, it's only been mainstream for about 10 years. That means there's a terrifying unknown. We don't fully understand what it's doing to non-smokers long term. And while regulators race to catch up, millions of people, especially teenagers, are essentially participating in a global medical experiment. There are no control groups, no long-term data, just billions of particles flowing into millions of lungs and a ticking clock. So is vaping less harmful than smoking? Yes, if you were already smoking. But if you weren't, you're starting from zero and gambling with your health anyway. Let's dig deeper. What exactly makes nicotine so addictive? Why is quitting so hard, and what does it really do to your brain? Here's what makes vaping especially dangerous for young people. It's just too easy. Unlike cigarettes, vapes don't smell. They don't burn your throat. They're small, sleek, and discreet enough to hide in a hoodie sleeve or a backpack pocket. You can puff inside your bedroom, between classes, even during Zoom calls. No lighter, no ash, no fuss. And because it feels so harmless, you don't notice how much you're using. A single disposable vape can contain as much nicotine as an entire pack or more, and some teens go through one a day without realizing it. Now, here's the real kicker. The teenage brain isn't fully developed. The prefrontal cortex, the part that controls decision-making, impulse control, and emotional regulation, is still under construction. And nicotine hijacks that development. It overstimulates receptors linked to reward, mood, and motivation, retraining the brain to depend on that hit for focus, calm, and pleasure. Studies have linked early nicotine exposure to ADHD-like symptoms, reduced attention span, increased anxiety and depression, poor impulse control, and mood swings. But there's a catch. Some experts argue maybe it's not the nicotine causing these issues, but rather that people already struggling emotionally are more likely to seek out nicotine in the first place. Still, one thing is clear. Nicotine is one of the most addictive substances on Earth, and once it rewires your brain, quitting is a whole new battle. There's a myth that vaping leads to other drugs. But what we see more often is this: people who take risks tend to take more risks. If you're drawn to stimulation, escape, or control, you're already in the zone where addiction finds its home. So what happens when you finally try to quit? Let's talk about withdrawal, frustration, and why nicotine doesn't let go easily. Quitting sounds simple, just stop, right? But for anyone who's tried to break free from nicotine, the truth hits hard. The moment your brain realizes the supply has stopped, everything starts to unravel. Within hours, you feel it. That creeping anxiety, the irritability, the headache that won't quit. By day 2, you're restless. You can't sleep. You can't focus. Food tastes different. You snap at people you care about for no reason. Some describe it as a fog. Others say it's like their skin doesn't fit anymore. But nearly all agree it's not just physical, it's emotional. Because nicotine wasn't just a chemical, it became a coping tool, a way to smooth the edges of a hard day, a pause button, a reward. Now it's gone. And your brain panics. Dopamine levels drop. Joy feels out of reach. Some people fall into depressive spells. Others eat more, gain weight, or spiral back into other bad habits just to feel normal again. But here's the truth. No withdrawal ever tells you in the moment. It doesn't last forever. Most of the worst symptoms peak within 72 hours. By the end of week 2, the fog starts to lift. Your brain begins to heal, recalibrate, remember what baseline feels like. And over the next few weeks, the cravings dull, the sleep returns, and your body resets. It's not easy, but it's possible, and more importantly, it's worth it. Because beyond the pain of withdrawal is something powerful: freedom. Up next, let's pull the lens back. If vaping feels this addictive and so few people understand what's inside, why did it take off so fast? Here's the unsettling reality. Vaping is too good, too smooth, too flavorful, too easy to love. That's the problem. It doesn't burn. It doesn't stink. It doesn't make your clothes reek or your fingers yellow. Instead, it tastes like bubblegum, peach ice, or blue raspberry. It fits in your palm. It slides into your life. And then it stays. This isn't just another health scare. It's a cultural shift. We didn't replace smoking with something safer. We repackaged addiction in neon colors and sold it to the next generation. Millions of young Americans, smart, curious, and stressed, are being hooked not out of rebellion, but out of routine. Vaping doesn't feel bad. It feels manageable, stylish, even harmless. But behind that harmless haze is a quiet truth. Nicotine is still nicotine. And we've created a delivery system that's faster, more addictive, and more appealing than ever before. What's worse, we're still playing catch-up. Science doesn't fully understand the long-term impact. Regulation lags behind. And most warnings feel either too vague or too judgmental to land. So what can we do? Tell the truth, clearly, calmly, consistently. Not to scare people into quitting, but to arm them with real knowledge so they can choose for themselves. Because addiction thrives in the dark. But truth gives people back their power. If you made it this far, you're not just curious, you care. And that's where change begins. Before you scroll away, if this made you think, hit like. If you know someone who vapes, share this with them. And if you want more bold, science-backed storytelling like this, subscribe to Inner Mind Nut. Let's question the world together.